Islam, Islam, Islam.
Islam, God.
First, I rise, giving all thanks and perfect praises to the great God, Allah, highest honors to his holy prophet, honors to the forerunner, and honors to all, all who are in and participating in the great program of uplifting for all of humanity. We're on Let's Think Podcast. I am your host, Brother Sheik 7. We have Brother Khalil Ali Allah. We have the controversial, the what else can I say? The champ is here. Sharif Anael-Bey. What else can we say? Today we're dealing with the topic of Freemasonry. We're dealing with the topic of dispelling the Masonic hate. The Masonic hate that exists within the conscious community and many facets of the conscious community as a whole. So today we have Brother Sharif Anael-Bey. We have the brother Khalil Ali Allah. Both of these brothers are very, very schooled, learned in the craft, and a part of other august bodies. And what we're going to do today is just allow them to talk. We're going to initiate a dialogue, and we're going to ask some very pertinent questions in our dialogue. And only I can say, let's get to it. First, I bring our esteemed guest, Sharif Anael-Bey, to the plate. I would like to just tell the people who you are, your background in the craft, if possible, and etc.
Sure. First, I want to I'll begin in the name of Allah, Almighty, Eternal, and Incomprehensible, but closer to you than your jugular vein. I want to give honors to the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Jawali. Give honors to my brothers here on this podcast, Let's Think Podcast, Sheik 7, my brother Khalil. You know, this is an honor for me to be on this, not just because I'm with my brothers, but I'm with brothers that have walked similar paths, so we can really have a conversation. You know what I'm saying? And then two, we got our brother Khalil, representing, the nation of Islam. See, that brings an added dimension to this conversation. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be really good. It's going to be really, 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 really good. My quick background. As it relates to fraternal organizations or quote unquote secret organizations or esoteric or occult organizations. I've been a long time student of these things. I officially became involved with Freemasonry officially in 1997. I was initiated, passed, and raised in a right line. And then later became associated with the Grand Orient of France, which is Egyptian Rite Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
Became involved with the Egyptian Rite. I've been involved with a number of other organizations, secret organizations, the Hermetic Brotherhood of Luxor, Ordo Templi Orientis Antiqua, which is the OT called the OTOA for short. So I've been involved in a number of them. What's most important for me, I love research, I love learning, and what's important in all of these, as far as my involvement, the most important part of it for me is practicality. See, a lot of people are mesmerized by terminology, nomenclature, being able to say that they're involved with something secret or esoteric or whatever. But that's as far as it goes. It's like a lot of our brothers and sisters talking about chakras or talking about these types of things. They don't have real practical knowledge or real practical accomplishment. And our brother Khalil, I know, because he and I have had this conversation before. I know he's a big sticker on this as well. If it is not practical, it is either voluntarily ignorant or spooky.
1000%.
It's got to be practical. Even the spiritual things that are quote unquote non-physical must still be practical. See, a big part of that. I'm gonna stop talking with this. A big part of what makes what gives value to knowledge that's involved in secret organizations is that it gives methodology to the scientific study of non-physical phenomena. This is what most people, especially in the West, are not familiar with. See? That's what's important. That's important to me. Peace. I'll yield the floor.
Yes, sir. I'm Khalil. I've been initiated in the Freemasonry for maybe about 15. Okay. Into Masonry about 15, 20 years. I'm initiated of the Hermetic Order of Golden Dawn. I've been practicing ceremonial magic for about 15 years. I'm initiated also of AMRC and of the AA. They are my schools for which I study under. I also took bed with the Sufi order under Sheik Bamba. I'm into every form of study that there is.
I want to go, brother. Let me jump in real quick. Tell them about the AA, the Order of the Silver Star.
Well, I would say that the AA, I would say, is the supreme school. The reason why that I call it the supreme school is because it doesn't have buildings. You doesn't necessarily have to get initiated by anyone per se, because everyone is an initiate of the AA. It just depends on what degree they're in when you're speaking from a universal lodge perspective. But the AA is the only school that you go into another degree only if you are proficient in that particular degree. In other words, let's say if you are on your probation, then eventually you'll be accepted as a student after you pass certain levels. Then you have to get accepted as a neophyte, and you'll have a zealot over top of you. As a student, you have a neophyte over top of you. Once you complete certain things, then you're able to go to other degrees. For instance, in order for you to be taken on, they might give you a list of books that you have to study. And it's on every form of ascension that you can go for self-realization. So it's whether it's Buddhism, Hinduism, you go into the esoteric study, esoteric poems, you go into all of those fields of study in the different realms of growth and development. And then in some of these schools, such as I had to write a paper on these particular forms of study in order for me to be accepted. Then you'll finally get over, and then you'll go through some stages to get initiated as a neophyte. The duty of a neophyte is for you to travel in the astral vision. To lead from neophyte to zealoter, you will have to, they'll write down a one-dimensional emblem. You will have to enter into the astral realm. That emblem then become three-dimensional. You have to lift that emblem up. You have to give the word, get the word, and then you have to give it to your to your zealoter. Then you have to get somebody to replace you as the neophyte before you can go to the zealoter degree. So I consider that the supreme school as far as a structured, appears to be a structured body. The AA do not hide their material. Their material is all online, because at the end of the day, I can give you everything. And you can sit here and you can cite everything.
That's right.
But it will not give you the spiritual development that each of those particular degrees represent.
Pow.
So if I give it to you, I can give it to, it's many Masons. They have their 32nd degree emblems with the double-headed eagle. Then you 33rd with the crown on the double-headed eagle.
Come on, brother.
But majority take it as a symbol, because that's all it is. Do you know the level that you have to be to actually ascertain such a state?
Come on.
To be a representation of what that actually means. And that's what happens in all of these orders and all of these religions, whether it's the Nation of Islam, the Moorish Americans, and all of that. We'll formulate, but we never want to ascertain the level of being exactly what it represents, which is God.
Come on.
And that's what it's all about, to be God.
Come on.
That's what we are today.
I'm so glad you said that, bro. You know, especially you mentioned the practical work,
right,
of conscious astral travel.
Yeah.
You mentioned the practical work. See, that's powerful. You know, like that one particular test, they give you the 2-dimensional, the 2D, they give you the symbol.
Yeah.
You have to, on the astral, find the 3-dimensional.
Mm-hmm.
And then look, and 3-dimensional as in, you've got a drawing, which is 2D, but on the astral, man, there's so much to be said about this whole thing. It's one thing to read. It's one thing to read that a symbol is a shadow of something on a higher dimension or a higher realm. It's one thing to read those words. It's something altogether different to have practical and experiential knowledge of the fact. You know what I'm saying?
It's a whole different game.
Sir.
It's a whole different game in order to actually experience it. But the prophet spoke about it. You know, now whether if the people can see it to ascertain it is up to them. You know, it takes discipline. And it takes somewhat of a control of your imagination. And it's very important to practice visualization techniques, because you have to be able, and I haven't done it in so long, I know I will have to go through stages to develop that ability to do it again. But you have to be able to hold an image in your mind very clear. It has to be very clear, meaning as vibrant as you and I are sitting talking to each other. It has to be that clear. Then once you begin to have that clarity of vision within your eyes, let's take AMRC, for instance. AMRC has a ritual or meditation and visualization technique, which is the creation of the celestial sanctum. And I'm not revealing nothing because it's online. So the celestial sanctum, in which you visualize yourself, then you see yourself touching your room, and then you see yourself touching the floor. Then you see yourself floating and looking at your body. And depending on what is most acceptable to you, you will create your inner holy sanctuary. Some people might create a cathedral. I'm anti-religion, so I created a planet. And on that particular thing, you begin to communicate with the cosmic intelligence, or which they would call the cosmic consciousness, which we call Allah, all right? And then at a certain point of it, you have to stop thinking that you are thinking this and that you are observing this, but that you are this. So when you touch the wall, you have to use all the forces of your will to know that you are touching a wall in that particular vision. Then you have to, by force of your will, no longer see it as you looking from your mind eye, but that you are looking through the eyes of the very archetype that you had created within your mind.
Come on.
And that's how you produce the astral experience, or as the Golden Dawn would say, travel in the spirit vision.
Travel in the spirit vision. Brother, see, I don't know if the viewers really understand or can really grasp the depth of what you just described.
Right.
But this is what it brings to mind for me. First of all, I'm thankful for it. But what it brings to mind is something that's happened with us. You know, Prophet Noble Drali says, even in the path of wisdom, he toileth after folly. What we have in the so-called conscious community and the so-called woke community, especially amongst our people, is that we think that Oh, just by virtue of the fact that we have dark olive skin and we got melanin in our skin, that we're all powerful. We ain't got to do no work.
Yeah.
Just by virtue of us just being us, we don't have to do no work. What you just described is real work. That you
It took me 2 years.
See? Yes, sir.
Took me 2 years.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We have similar, of course, similar exercises. Like, for instance, the development of the astral faculty.
Mm-hmm.
Right? You have to develop them. Prophet Drew Ali refers to this development as exercising your five senses. So, like what you mentioned, work on the astral using the controlled imagination, right? And then what are you doing? You're building up a connection.
Absolutely.
To experiences on the astral, to the point where you can consciously interact on the astral in that astral body as if it's your physical body.
And to add to what you was about to say,
yes, sir.
It's real.
Mm-hmm.
So there are beings on that plane that are real. Now, we could say that we think that it's an illusion or imagination. That's the terminology that we'll use.
Right.
But it is real.
Yo, brother,
So
in the Sufi order that I belong to, right? The Order al-Hashashim, we call this work, like what you always have a beginning point. You have a beginning point. And in this case, the beginning point is our active imagination. I think it's cool outside, but not that cold. That's what I think. Now, I'm sitting next to my window, so I have a little bit of an idea, but it's still my imagination. It's just where I'm starting. We call that first shadow. Second shadow is, guess what? I go outside.
Oh, 1000%. And
that's
you know,
second shadow. So now guess what I get to do when I go outside? I get to compare what I thought was right to what actually is. See that?
And on that, yes, sir. On that experience level, right?
Yes, sir.
When I did the cosmic conscious, the celestial sanctum.
Yes.
So I was on my planet, and I had reached such a level where I had become that. All right.
Yes.
And I looked up into the sun, and my head was snatched up. And now this is occurring in my mind, but I know that this thing is real because my head is snatched up. I'm looking at the sun.
Yes, sir.
And when I'm looking up at the sun, it burns my eyes.
Ooh.
And I'd wind up doing this and going backwards, right? And it made my eyes physically burn for a week.
Yes, sir.
Later on in my studies in entering Masonry,
yes,
and studying the older signs and all of that, I realized that was a Masonic sign that I actually did in the spirit vision.
That's
right.
A fact.
So even like when you're scrying the tree of life or the Sephirotic tree.
Yes, sir.
From Malkut to Keter.
Mm-hmm.
There are signs and there are words.
That's right. To
every part of it.
Yes.
In order to travel from one to another. Sephira. So all this stuff has to be done. So, there's a difference of sitting down and reading a book and actually applying it. There's two different things involved in that. And that brings us to the discussion of Freemasonry and its origin, and understanding that it's ours and it's not theirs.
Bottom line.
We share with them something.
That's right, bro.
We share with them something.
Yes, sir.
Right now, they have taken it and they have watered it down.
Mm-hmm.
That we can say. I mean, even Albert Pike spoke about that with Webb's final breakdown of that particular the particular ritual of the Blue House.
Blue Line.
He spoke about it clearly.
Yes.
Of how it been torn to shreds by Webb. Right? Because we see it there. Now, if we go to the original Scottish Rite, and I'm gonna pull that up because I'm gonna pull that up real fast. The original Scottish Rite ritual, for which at one time was the ritual of the Scottish Rite Blue House degrees.
Yes.
Because the Scottish Rite had their own Blue House degrees.
Right.
Until the agreement was made for the York Rite to have it.
That's right.
So let me just pull this up right here. Here we go right here. All right. So I think that the main issue at point is that they see Freemasonry as an enemy.
Right.
All powerful, august body.
Right.
Of elite men that contain and control the entire world.
Right.
And that we should not enter the Masonic orders.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Oh my goodness. Well, besides, I'll start with this on the basic level. You know, fear and hate are bred from ignorance.
Very much so.
They're bred from ignorance, you know, and to make decisions based on ignorance is a very, very, very poor thing to do. Very
Absolutely.
So, you know, the whole thing of Freemasonry or the institution of Freemasonry, first of all, being a secret organization. It's not a secret organization. It's an organization with secrets.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? It's if it was a secret organization, none of us would know the name of it.
1000%.
You're right. Now you know and I know. You know, we know this about each other, that we both belong. We both have belonged to real secret organizations.
Absolutely.
Right. Now, but there's the difference. There's a secret organization and then there's organizations with secrets. Freemasonry is an organization with secrets.
And then you have secret organizations that you don't discuss what going.
Bottom line.
Absolutely.
Bottom line, right? But with Freemasonry and the current phobia in the Moorish science system of America, I'm pretty sure that you all probably deal with it in the nation as well, right? The phobia just comes from ignorance. And the ignorance is a long-standing ignorance because our people, remember these organizations, Moorish science system of America, Nation of Islam, they're here to uplift our people.
Correct.
What about uplift? We've been on a dead horizontal, dead socially, economically, spiritually, whatever. We've been powerless. We've been without power for a while, collectively. And we've become so used to being without power that we demonize those that we suspect do have power.
Absolutely.
Because we've been victims of those. We've been at the mercy of those who have no mercy. So I understand where this whole phobia comes from. I do. But it still comes from ignorance. So to directly combat it, we just need proper information. We just need proper information. And you started it off earlier by making the contents of the knowledge within Freemasonry is old Asiatic culture. It's old Asiatic science. It's the science and culture of our forefathers. Period, point blank. You know as well as I do that the origin of, even from the European perspective, of the institution of Freemasonry came out of the old beef during the medieval era between the Templars and the
1000%. 1000%.
The fact that our forefathers, yours and mine, passed certain things to those Templars.
Absolutely. We're dealing with, well, first of all, we realize that many of the Templars were initiated amongst the Sufic orders.
Fact.
We learned about that, and that's what the messenger was leading us to in Muslim lesson 1 Number 9.
Number 9.
Right? Why does Muhammad make the devil study from 35 to 50 years? Because he's leading us into that particular study, right?
Fact.
So now you have the Templars in that book, The Islamic Origin of Freemasonry.
Yes, sir.
Right? He clearly states and shows that Hugh DePayne was like the 20. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. He clearly shows and displays that Hugh DePayne,
yes,
it was 4 black men that created the original Templars, right? The original black men. Hugh DePayne was actually like the 25th or 26th cousin of Prophet Muhammad through Abu Talib, right? He was financed by his cousin, who became Saint Bernard.
Correct.
Right?
Correct.
I think he was a Chaldean, right?
Yes, sir.
And when you read Saint Bernard's workings, you don't see nothing but Sufism.
That's
when he is speaking from his spiritual level and sciences, right?
Yes.
It's even in the book, in the earlier forms of Freemasonry.
Yes.
In the studying of Freemasonry, the original Master Mason word wasn't even in Hebrew.
That's a fact.
It was Arabic.
Arabic.
This is in the Scottish questionnaires for which they found, which is older than the one that was presently held by the UGLE.
That's right.
Right?
That's right.
That's when you get into William Sinclair and all of those individuals during that time period. William Sinclair was friends with Hugh DePayne.
Yes, sir.
And in William Sinclair, in their writings pertaining to William Sinclair, when he had returned from his journey in the East, they stated that he brought back with him a Mason of the desert.
Mm-hmm.
This is what they say.
That's right.
Let me share something with you how deep this gets.
Yes, sir.
I'm reading from the book entitled The Golden Builders, page 32.
Uh-huh.
He says this: as to those who are appointed to the ground, hear how they are made known. Under the top edge of the stone, an inscription announces the name and lineage of the one summoned to make the glad journey. Whether it concerns girls or boys, there is no need to erase their names, for as soon as a name has been read, hold on, because I want to make sure that I get exactly what I want people to hear on this one.
Right.
Because the world needs to know the truth.
Yes, sir.
Of what's actually taking place here, and that they actually stole our stuff.
Right.
Because I ain't gonna say stole, we gave it to them, right?
That's right.
But I think that it's important that they are able to read it. I even took a picture of it, so I don't even have to go through the whole book.
Right.
But it is from the Golden Builders, and this is what he says. Very important language. Because I don't want to go upstairs to get the book. But this is what he say. He say it is furthermore difficult to escape the conclusion that Sabian influence, which means Islamic Sabian influence, in some way helped to shape the mythology of medieval freestone Masons, originators of what we now call Freemasonry. The earliest Masonic documents recognized by English Freemasons today, the so-called old charges, date from around the year 1400 and attribute the survival of the Masonic sciences after the flood to Hermes Trismegistus and to Euclid operating in Egypt.
Yes, sir.
Such knowledge of these two figures as existed in the Western Middle Ages derived, as far as we know, from Haran and Baghdad.
Yes, sir.
It is also recorded in the varied lore of the crusading years that some knights returned from the East with Saracen Masons.
That's a fact.
Which mean black Masons.
Right.
A learned Mason from the Holy Land would almost certainly have obtained the Arabic translations of Greek technical works and geometry from the Sabian intellectuals of Haran and Baghdad. This is where it gets interesting.
Yes, sir.
It is curious that in the earliest extant copies of the late 17th and early 18th century Scottish Masonic catechisms, the Master Mason's secret word is given as Mahabim.
That's right, Mahabim.
In association with the teaching of points of Masonic fellowship.
Yes, sir.
The origin of this word has been from the word mahaba, which is a Sufic word used in Sufism as a password, meaning love.
Meaning love, brother.
So in the earliest catechism of the usage of the Master Mason word, it wasn't that it was written in Hebrew, but that it was written in Arabic.
Correct.
This is recognized also in the early catechism of the Scottish Rite body, who have their own Blue House degrees.
That's right.
And you know what? We ain't even gonna wait on that. I'm going
just,
with it.
I mean, you brother, you lighten it up right now, because what you're doing, what you're doing, among other things, is you're throwing light on the development of the institution of modern masonry prior to 1717 and the UGLE.
Oh, absolutely.
You know what I'm saying? Prior
absolutely.
to that.
Because that's what we have to get into. Because when you hear the earlier ritual, it clearly states in the Scottish Rite Blue House ritual of the Masons of the Desert.
That's right.
It clearly states it.
The old desert fathers.
Right. So they are talking about the Sufic orders.
Yes, sir.
And the initiatory rites.
Yes, sir.
Because you don't get anything up in Europe if it is not because of the translation of Arabic texts.
Bottom line.
If you get with John T was able to, John T wound up copying from the Picturex, which was made by a Sufi.
That's a fact.
This is an absolute fact. If you use the Rosicrucian teaching.
Oh, you mean the Picturex, right?
The Picturex, absolutely.
Yeah, bro.
Which was an Arabic text.
That's a fact.
If you go a little bit further and you read the earlier writings of the Rosicrucians,
yes,
such as CRC, he is traveling in the Islamic world in which he gathers the knowledge that he is to ascertain.
Correct.
In the earlier writings inside of a German Rosicrucian order, in their history, they write that the Rosicrucian faith, that the Rosicrucianism is an attempt to give to the Western world,
yes, sir,
the teachings of the East and Orient,
yes,
which means in a form that they could accept.
Brother, I'm glad you brought that up. Like in the Egyptian rite, they talk about they say he was a priest, the Egyptian priest. They call him Ormuz.
Absolutely.
You already know. So, and they're saying that Ormuz purified the ancient rite for the Western world. In other words, did what? Added the Christian tinge to it.
They always do, because let's take this for instance. We know that takes place because let's take Robert Morris, the author of the Eastern Stars. His original ritual was Roman gods and goddesses.
That's a fact.
It did not pick up in the Christian West, did not accept it. So then he Christianized it and put biblical figures in order for it to be accepted.
That is the truth.
So we find it there, no more than if we was to read the workings of the Rosicrucian Fellowship and the study of Parsifal, which is the Grail, right? So we have that, but that was taken from Sufic texts.
Brother, I'm so glad you brought me back to an earlier point you made, right? The whole Euro medieval concept of chivalry came from Islam. It came from the Sufic Muslims, brother.
Yes, sir. And their interaction with Saladin.
There you go. That's where it
came from.
That's
the
whole Arthurian legend was appropriated.
It came directly from them. And it's writing. This entire article is written on this.
Yes, it is.
And there is proof that Saladin was initiated as a Templar, and Templars was initiated into our rites.
There were cross initiations, brother.
Absolutely. And they had to write on. Indeed. And they had to write, and they had to accept in there, regardless of religious belief.
Yes.
Regardless of that. All of that was taken out. So we have to really look at things from a real serious perspective when we are talking about a white boy thing.
Right.
Because in order for them to form the temple that they got, it was the white boy Belzoni that went into ancient Egypt, sat down and looked, and he wrote back and said to them, this is it. Why? Because he saw in the temple of Seti on top of the wall a faint picture of a celestial canopy, and he saw on the floor the faint remains of a checkerboard floor.
That's a fact.
So therefore, he was able to take from that no more than when they grabbed the New York obelisk.
Yes, sir.
With Goringer.
Yes, sir.
They wrote about that because when they found the obelisk, which they classify as Cleopatra's Needle,
that's right.
They found it sitting on top of a cube, and underneath, and with that cube, it was a crab shell, and it was a trowel. So when they brought it back, they had a meeting in New York of them bringing it in.
Yes, sir.
And I think it's in a book called The New York Obelisk. And they give the entire lecture that was given by the Grand Master of New York, where they literally states, it was about an hour or two lecture, where he literally states we can no longer deny the origin, which was from ancient Egypt.
That's right, brother.
So we're looking at the construction of the belief of what will become Freemasonry.
There you go.
But what we ignore is the Islamic relationship that gave rise and birth to them, right?
Come on.
Because you don't have a shrine unless you have Sufism.
Period.
Sufism is the mother and father of the shrine.
That's fact.
The shrine is a Christianized Sufic order.
Correct.
In the original ritual written by that was given to John G. Jones by
Johnny Jones.
He clearly states from the door that it traces its origin to the cousin of Prophet Muhammad, Ali, which is Ali, for which all Sufic orders trace themselves back, but one who traced themselves by Abu Bakr, but Abu Bakr was trained and taught by somebody that was taught by Ali. So he stated to them that he gave them that in a watered down version because they were Christian. The order was made for Muslims and for Sufis, and the original name was the Order of the Nobles.
Order of the Nobles.
And the Order of the Nobles that was in the East was to protect the pilgrims or blacks that was coming or Muslims that was traveling, and also to enforce law of those that violated the Islamic law.
That's fact.
This is documented. The original ritual sits in Syria today.
That's right.
So in their shrine, for instance, they literally take a shahada.
Yes, they do.
They literally greet Assalamu alaikum.
That's right.
It's just that it has been watered down by the Christian West.
Yes, sir.
And because it's watered down by the Christian West, they cannot see the spiritual tenets that exist solely within it, even though the white boys very clearly stated pertaining to Florence and Flowers, who was looking for the origin, and they sat amongst the Batashi order.
That's right.
Which is written about clearly inside the Encyclopedia of Freemasonry by Mackey, Albert G. Mackey, who was also the Sovereign Grand Commander of the Southern Jurisdiction, right?
Yes.
He sat up there and he clearly talked that when they sat amongst them, they said that they let them stay in because of their degree. They was 33rd degrees.
Come on.
So the Batashi order allowed them to stay. Yes. They stated out of their mouth that they was only able to get the exoteric meaning of the ritual.
Yes, sir.
But not the esoteric. They wound up getting the esoteric when they traveled down into Egypt, in which they met a Western initiate of the Order of the Druze in Egypt. This initiate was the boy Russell, who was also a part of the Theosophical Society.
Are you talking about Alexander? Whoa. You talking about Alexander Russell Webb?
Yeah. And he taught them the esoteric meaning of the shrine ritual.
Yo,
that's how they got it.
Yo, bro. I don't know if the viewers, Brother Sheik 7, I don't know if the listeners or the viewers, I hope that they go back and watch this again and start taking notes on some of the names, dates, and places that our brother's given. Because he's throwing some powerful stuff out there. You hear me? Yeah. Like mentioning the European, Alexander Russell Webb is huge, because that's a name That's a name that is involved simultaneously with early conversionist Islam in America, with secret orderism and esoteric societies in America. You understand what I'm saying? Man, listen, he's involved with all of these things simultaneously. That's a big name right there.
But the one that I'm just to correct is George William Russell.
George William Russell.
That's the one. Now, but not to even ignore, because you know that William St. Clair was actually a relative of one of the brothers that was under the Articles of Confederation, under the Continental Congress. That's just one of his family, right? See, but it's there. You see, the people they have to understand that this is ours. It's not theirs.
Let me jump in real quick. You mentioned a few minutes ago something that was huge too. You mentioned a particular Sufi order who's headquartered in Istanbul, Turkey.
Bektashi, yes, sir.
Bektashi. Yo, there's such a big deal. It's not even funny, right? So let's talk about real quick, just as this is as a side note to add, since he brought up the Bektashi. There's this one European Jewish Cabalist by the name of Albert Schutz, passed away. But Albert Schutz, even amongst his own kinsmen, when he was researching Kabbalah, could not get any one of these European Jewish masters to even speak to him about what they knew to be a practical operative Kabbalah. All they could get was the philosophy.
Correct.
And so the people he ran into, they either denied it existed, or they said, I can't speak about it because I'll lose what I have.
I'm teaching. Yeah.
Right? So now, Albert Schutz had to do this. He had to think, why is this so secretive? Oh, because, the persecution of Jews, quote unquote. Quote unquote, right? So he's like, okay, let me think of a time when the Jews were not so persecuted and didn't have to be so secret. Oh, that was when they were under the authority of the Muslims.
1,000%.
So guess what guess where that leads him? Istanbul, Turkey, to the Bektashi order.
That's right.
And guess what he finds? He finds a complete version of the operative Kabbalah as Sufi teaching.
Absolutely.
And because of that, hold on.
God dropping bombs now. You know that, right? He dropping bombs now. Drop them bombs, God.
He writes this book.
Now, I never saw that book, so I'm writing it right now.
Yeah.
Call it Donnie. Yes, sir.
Yep, by Albert Schutz.
Yep, I see it.
Of practical Kabbalah and Gestalt mysticism. He reveals the secret. Listen, when you all look at this book, you're going to crack up, and that's all I got to say. When you look at the illustrations, you're going to bug out. Now, there's one other thing I got to say about the Bektashi. There's another man. He was a veteran of World War I out of Austria. His name was Rudolf von Sabbatendorf. So Rudolf von Sabbatendorf, World War I, Germany got their behinds kicked. And it was because they suffered such a humiliating defeat. That was the beginning of radical German nationalism. So Sabbatendorf was a Freemason, and he had some European Jewish friends that were German that had relocated to Istanbul, Turkey. He joins them, and through them gets initiated with the Bektashi. He later, this is deep, he later goes back to Germany and starts his own secret esoteric society called the Fool Society.
Ooh.
The Fool Society then later creates a political arm called the German Workers' Party. The head of the German Workers' Party, their chief spokesman, was Adolf Hitler. The German Workers' Party became the Nazi Party.
And the deep thing about that, they had a lot of people with them, Rosicrucians and Golden Dawn members.
You hear what he just said? So all of them, all of his top scientists and top researchers in the Nazi Party, all of them were the SS, all of them were part of the Thule Society. All of them.
All of them was initiates.
They also said, they openly said, Werner von Braun said himself numerous occasions, said that their advancement in technology came by way of channelings via adepts in the Thule Society. Thule Society and the Vril Society. One in particular, there's one European woman by the name of Maria Osric. They said this is where they got their jump start on high-level technology from.
Very true.
Ain't that something? So now you start to see some really interesting parallels. Ancient, old secret orderism being passed through, or this ancient knowledge being passed through a secret Islamic order, right? And a connection with quote-unquote other world technology in modern times. Where else have you heard this connection? All right, see what I'm saying? Where else have you heard this connection? Right? And a connection, and as it relates to to Turkey. The Turks are the chief, Prophet Drali said the Turks are the chief protectors of the true Islamic creed.
Absolutely.
He said that the angels, right? Angels are thoughts of Allah manifested in human flesh. And what is it? What is, angels are used to carry messages from the four corners of the world to all nations. Honorable Elijah Muhammad had a number of meetings with the two brothers from Turkey.
Absolutely.
And he called them angels.
He absolutely did, and he's discussed what they held power over.
Come on, brother.
In regards to the weather.
Come on, brother.
So it's definitely a fact to that.
Yep.
You know when
allow me to ask you brothers a question, because I'm listening, right? Hey, I'm overloaded over here, you know. I'm definitely going, you know, this video right here is going to, I'm going to be going back to watch this.
Yes, sir.
What is, from you two brothers' perspective, what is the nucleus of the contention of the craft of Freemasonry within the so-called or quote-unquote conscious community?
Looking at too many YouTube videos.
Yeah.
What I mean by that is people who are half learned talking, and they make videos that sound breaking down very intelligent, when in reality it's a scare tactic because they don't understand it. You see what I mean? Anything that people do not, and beyond that, it's sell videos. Now, what I'm going to say is this. You are part of the Moorish American, I'm part of the Nation of Islam, right? Let's say you and I, we have a convention. We all within this level of conscious.
Yes.
Let's say you a banker, I'm a banker.
Right.
Let's say you're a bank, I'm a real estate board. Let's say he's a council member.
Yes, sir.
You have an idea that you want to take over a country. To take over the country, we got to deal with real estate. You are you're an officer of the country, a politician.
Yes, sir.
Because of our interaction within the same organization, we are able to network to make things happen.
Right.
It is not the Masonic body. Like it's somebody sitting at the head of Masonry saying, we're going to conquer and take over this. No. Masonry is one of the only places where a commissioner from Palestine, an officer from Pakistan,
yes, sir,
a king from Europe,
Correct.
a duke from England,
Mm-hmm.
a carpenter from North Philadelphia,
Yes.
the mayor from Washington, D.C.,
Mm-hmm.
a fisherman from Baltimore,
Yes.
and we're going to all meet on a level.
Ain't that something?
This occurs in Masonry.
Thank you, brother.
So
That's
if
right.
I come in there in a communication and I'm talking, depending on what I am, I can create whatever I choose to create.
There you go.
That doesn't make the institution the scapegoat for the actions of people who took advantage of a networking event.
You hit it right on the nose, bro.
There's two different things.
Said that.
Because the same way you got a networking event that did certain things for their own reality, you had networking events. Let's take this, for instance. I think the brother name was Moses. He was a part of Prince Hall Freemasonry.
Mm-hmm.
His order was called the Order of, oh man, I got to get this name. I got to remember it. It'll come back to me.
Yes, sir.
But this brother was able to form an organization where they was going to cause a physical armed revolution and kill the plantation and slave owners to set free the slaves. And they was connected all the way in Europe and being financed from abolitionists or whites from Europe in order to take it over. In order to stop it, but right before they was ready to do the armed takeover and go and eliminate, that's where your Emancipation Proclamation was signed into existence.
Brother, you know what? I've heard the very same story.
He was a Prince Hall Mason.
Yes, sir.
He was a Prince Hall. It's called the Order of, oh man, let me see if I can get this name real fast. Let me see the order. This might be it right here. Bam. Let me see if this is it. All right. I had put him up on my page and everything. I gotta remember. But I'm gonna give his order that he started. Oh, I think it's Knights of Tudor.
Knights of Tudor.
I think that's them. If I'm correct, is this it? If that's not it, I'll get it. I have to remember it. But this particular brother, he set up this entire order. And that order, they had built and owned hospitals and everything. They owned hospitals in Texas. They owned all of this stuff. These black people did this. He was a Prince Hall Freemason, and he was not about games. He was about conquering and overthrowing to set the people free. I actually have the ritual. I just have to go look for it. But I have the whole entire ritual of that order.
So it's a very interesting thing that you're saying, because what it does, it shows that amongst the Masonic organizations, you had different organizations with different, what can I say, objectives. They all had different agendas, may I say. Because you see in the craft of Freemasonry, some had this particular agenda. It was some that were part of the craft who had the agenda to further the institution of slavery. Now we're bringing to light Masonic organizations that were actually against the institution of slavery. So it's just showing that the agendas of the organizations don't always coincide.
Well,
I like to add
yes, sir. Yes, sir.
That is the truth. Also, what leads to, it's always ignorance that leads to fear and hate. I mentioned that before. So what also contributes to the phobia that many of our people have about Freemasonry and Masonic institutions is that their misunderstanding of what is actually kept secret, or what is actually the secrets. So I want to say 3 quick things about that. One, what most people interpret as the secrets aren't secrets. What most people interpret as the secrets are the things that it would require of an individual just to be able to gain access to the lodge itself.
That's right.
They're thinking the little small things like signs, pass, token, words. That's what they're thinking are secrets. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
So that's just getting access. That's not talking about what Brother Khalil was just talking about. What are some of the things that actually discussed and planned in the lodge?
Absolutely. And I found the brother too. His name is Moses Dixon. He was the Grand Master of Prince Hall. I wrote this on my page, so I was to read it. Little known history. This is Brother Moses Dixon. He was a Grand Master of Prince Hall Freemasonry. He started an order called the Knights of Liberty. He also started the Order of 12 Knights and his sister order, the Daughters of Tabor. He created these orders to fight against slavery. As the Order of Liberty, the underground used his expansive network via the order to free prisoners of war, which were slaves. He was connected to the abolitionists and sympathizers all throughout Europe and the Americas. Through his order, he planned an armed assault to kill plantation owners and free the prisoners of war. The Emancipation Proclamation saved the slave owners' lives. Woo! His name was Moses Dixon.
That's
so in Prince Hall, the Grand Master of the Order of Prince Hall Freemasonry, he was an abolitionist. And when you read his earlier speeches over AME Church, the Methodist Church, he was very clear of his African origin and who he was. And to show you how Masonry is so watered down, not to get off the topic, they was talking about using clairvoyance. In his speech, he literally said we will use the gift of sight, which means using clairvoyance.
Which means this is something that they had that they'd obviously developed as a group.
As a group. So the Masons originally, they had it. Yes, and when you really, that's why you have Rosicrucians like Elias Ashmole and all of them come into the ranks in order to try to bring them back into a more deeper study of consciousness. Because it becomes so frail in the beginning. Let me tell you something. In the earlier magazine, I think it's called The Masonic Monitor, written in the 30s, I believe.
Yes. Yeah.
It's very interesting what the earlier statements was. They said we must always stand ready to rip out the tongue and cut the throat of anyone who mentions the name Jesus or, the password for the Master Mason in open lodge. Ooh. So this is the movement that was going on at that particular time. It was there. And I'm trying to find it because I have it somewhere on my computer. The actual monitor in which that discussion took place. Wow. But the reality is that we are giving away, and let's take the Golden Dawn book T.
Yes, sir.
And which gives rise to the tarot and all of that particular stuff they say was. 9 out of 10, the book was written in Arabic.
That's fact.
This is a fact.
That's right.
This is not something that we have to make up. This is documented. The Rosicrucians is directly the child of the Sufic orders.
Brother,
1,000%.
Unequivocally,
1,000%.
that is the fact.
1,000%.
Christian Rosicrucian talks about studying in Damascus and in Fez, Morocco.
1,000%. And if the Moorish brothers in the Nation of Islam are studied enough, they will know that the root spiritual system of both is Sufism.
Actual fact.
This is a fact. If they understand their lessons, then they will understand and see the Sufic doctrine clearly existing. For instance, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the name Wali means saint. The name, now this is late, this is early on they say this, but Wali don't mean saint. Wali means friend.
Friend.
You find Wali meaning saint in the definitions given in the mysterious orders of Sufism.
Yes, sir.
What is a poor righteous teacher?
Woo.
These are the things that we have to pay attention to. When we talk about poor righteous teacher, what do we think a poor righteous teacher is? We're not talking about economic loss of economic wealth. If you notice inside of the degree of lesson number 2, number 16,
Yes,
it is
sir.
mention of the Muslim son, the civilized people, and Muslims.
Yes, sir.
All the terminology of 5%. Right?
All 5%.
Why would they include Masons under that title? Because of what poor righteous teacher actually represents.
That's right.
When you are in an apprentice, you are considered that the actual name of the apprentice degree is the right of destitution.
That's a fact.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
The entered apprentice must be checked that he is devoid of any money, any metallic substance at all. He must be divested, right? So he is considered a what? Right. So he's considered what? A penniless one.
He's a poor. There you go.
Am I correct?
That's okay
then. All right now. One of the names of a Sufi is a fakir.
Correct.
Poor.
Poor.
But poor how? They are destitute. They are poor in Allah. That is the meaning of it.
Right.
Right?
Right.
That's the meaning of it. The name, Fard Muhammad. The messenger taught us that he took the name at the time of his coming. He didn't say he was born with the name. He said he took it.
That's right.
What does that mean? What does it mean? Why would he take the name? What do the name Fard mean? Now we get a little science of it where they'll be like, well, Fard means
right,
obligatory to follow.
Obligatory.
Let's go a little bit deeper though. If you get the book, The Principles of Sufism by Nahid Adna, she started breaking down. She has a whole chapter on the name Fard, which is solitary. Within the name Fard, she said one who has been beyond happenstance and chance. In other words, they become self-guided.
Self-guided.
So Fard is a state. Ibn Arabi spoke about this very clearly.
Yes, he did.
This is a state.
Yes, sir.
In the Sufic orders. Fard is a state that you have to reach.
Deep.
But they caught up in the man.
That's deep.
And not understanding the science that the man was giving them.
That's deep.
And this is where people getting stuck at. That's how come I have to laugh.
Yes, sir.
When they consider him to be A, B, and C, because that means to me that you haven't studied this.
You know what, brother? I'm so glad that you brought that up. You're describing a major aspect of man's devil, which is human weakness, right?
Absolutely.
Human weakness. And, I use this analogy a lot because it's perfect. The old Buddhist story of the teacher pointing at the moon and getting mad at the students because the students are looking at the finger instead of the moon.
Absolutely.
You know what I'm saying?
They're not
that's
paying
what we end up
to it.
There you go. Like what you just said. What you brought up, we deal with the same thing in the Moorish Science Temple of America, where we're being taught certain things. They're being told to us right in our literature, and we don't take it any further. We don't take it any further. If, like, for instance, page 1, or I'm sorry, not page 1, chapter 1, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, right? We're told directly about the spirits of air, water, of earth, water, air, and fire. Most of us don't take it any further than just the reading.
That's right.
We don't take it any further than just the reading. Well, what are the spirits of, you know what I'm saying?
That's
First
right.
of all, if these elementals have spirits, that means they're living things.
Talk about it.
You know what I'm saying? That means they're living things, people. That means that they can be contacted. That means like the prophet taught us in chapter 11, within their measure, they got the power to choose.
That's right.
They got will. And they're part of Allah's creation. And if man is the crown of Allah's creation, and his duty is to manifest his creator, right? That means that man, right, is the Lord of all of creation, including the elements.
1000%.
That means he should at least know them. He should at least be able to have some basic communication with those spirits. Am I right?
Absolutely.
But these are the things that many of us are scared of in the Moorish Science Temple of America. Oh, you talking about something else, brother? That's not Islamism. How you telling me it's not Islamism when it's in the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America?
Just like the Kabbalah is inside the Moorish Science Temple of America.
Chapter 11 is the Kabbalistic tree of life all day long. That's right, brother.
It's sitting in there 1000%.
It sure is, bro. It sure is. So anybody telling you in the morning, I'm just gonna say it, and maybe they get upset. I'm sorry, but anybody who says they're a student of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, but says at the same time you cannot study Kabbalah, they're not really they're a poor student of Prophet Drew Ali.
They have to be especially if you got 7.
You brother, listen. Okay, watch this. Our brother right here, he's a member of the Nation of Islam, brother Khalil. He's also a member of a number of very secret and august bodies, right?
Yes, sir.
He's a student of Kabbalah, right?
Right.
I'm going to quote or paraphrase very accurately chapter 11. From Allah's own record book, we read, the triune Allah breathed forth, and 7 spirits stood before his face. The Hebrews call these 7 spirits Elohim. And it was they in their boundless power that created everything that is or was. And these 7 spirits moved upon the face of boundless space, and 7 ethers were Sephiroth. And each ether had his form of life. Come on, bro.
It's 1000%.
That's the Kabbalistic tree of life.
It's the Kabbalistic tree of life. Not only the Kabbalistic tree of life is making reference to the 7 chakras.
Come on.
Which we would deal with the middle path, which is directly from Keter throughout the Dayat, down to Taferi, to Yesser, to Malkut.
To Malkut.
Absolutely.
That's a fact. That's a fact. And when you look at, here's what's deep, what's so deep about that? Yo, when you look at, I challenge the listeners, pull out, go online, pull up a copy of the Kabbalistic Tree of Life, look at the names of the Sephiroth, and then go pull up Jesus reciting the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic.
1000%.
And tell me what you see. That Lord's Prayer is an invocation and travel through that Kabbalistic tree of life.
It's the same thing if we deal with the sciences of the Savior. When he gave us Muslim lesson number 1, question number 10.
Yeah.
Right? When he asked that beautiful question, why does Muhammad or any Muslim murder the devil? What is the duty of each Muslim in regards to 4 devils?
4 devils.
What reward does a Muslim receive by bringing and presenting 4 at one time?
At one time.
You dealing with a science.
Yes,
because
sir.
the same 4 devils that he's making reference to is the same 4 devils that exist in Sufism.
How about
these same 4 devils? Now look at how deep he gets into this. It sounds like it's nothing, but it tells us everything.
Yes.
Because he tells you that you have to murder these 4 devils. You got to murder them. Understand first that Muhammad in that degree is not a personage.
Nope.
He is a state of being.
That's a fact.
Because Muhammad represents the perfected man, right? So you have to murder the 4 devils to ascertain this state, right?
That's right.
So
purification of the knives.
Absolutely. So when you murder these 4 devils, what do he tell you your reward is? A button to run all over your coat.
Go visit Muhammad.
Also a free translation to see Brother Muhammad. What does that mean though? Why did he say a coat? A coat is something that you wear in the coat.
That's right.
A coat represents the cloth of righteousness.
Correct.
The pendant that the button to put on the lapel of your coat is the crescent moon and star with the sun. We are taught inside of lesson number 1, question and answer number 9, that the universe is everything.
Everything, sun, moon, and stars.
So therefore, he is now telling us that through our righteousness, after the murdering of the 4 devils, man, that gives us, that cloth of righteousness is what gives us accessibility to the powers of the universe. We are taught this in the Holy Quran. At the creation of man, and then they say that the jinn was created for man out of the essence of smokeless fire. Smokeless fire before the creation of man in a denser form is radiation.
Come on,
if you are speaking about the formation of man, then it is making reference of emotion. Brother Minister Farrakhan broke down one time and said that a child first born, you go through the first stage, which is emotion. Your final stage is adulthood or reasoning, and that's when we consider it man. We find this same thing of conditions inside the alchemical sciences. Man represents the sun or reasoning.
That's right.
Right? And then this particular black man who is made from the essence of black mud.
Yes.
Then they are told that this people or the Malakim or the angels are told to bow down to this man. But from the root of that word Malakim, for which this root comes about, it doesn't necessarily mean angels in that terminology and representing of some spiritual forces floating around, but represents rulers and powers. Because they are considered to be of the heights of the heavens, it represents the universal powers or principalities that exist and forces that exist within it. Therefore, this man, black man, it must be made very clear.
Yes.
It's giving the powers, or the powers of the universe is made subservient to this man.
Correct.
So this coincides with lesson 1, number 10. Then you get that free translation, who see Mecca to see Brother Muhammad. But what is Mecca? Mecca is not a physical destination.
The center of thy being.
Nope.
You got that right. In every Sufic order awaits their meeting with who? Muhammad. And what is number 10 of the 12 Jews of Islam? Love. So love is the key.
Love
you
is
see
key,
that?
Bro. Yo, bro.
Come on, man. Come on,
listen,
brothers. Let me grab my cord.
You just brought in. See, you brought to mind for me. He went there.
Yes, he did.
What he brought to mind for me, bro, was chapter 17. See, I love how you tied in question 9 out of Lost Found lesson 1 and 10 with alchemy and with the murdering of the devil. That's powerful. Chapter 17 tells us there's a holy ministry in death, right?
Absolutely.
It says in the flesh of man is the essence of the resurrection. This essence, quickened by the holy breath, will raise the substance of the body to higher tone and make it like the bodies of on the planes above, which human eyes cannot behold. Right?
In other words, the original man.
Yes, the body must disintegrate, and this is death. So, like the brother was talking about murdering 4 devils. Well, what body? If Allah lives, while Allah lives, man cannot die. We talking about the physical body? No, the carnal body, the body of desires. That is the
murder of that ego.
Right. And when that
murder of that ego.
Right. When that fixed substance is now made pliant. Now it says Allah breathes just as he breathes on the chaos of the deep when the worlds are formed and life springs forth from death. Right? The carnal form is changed to flesh divine. That's that pin on the lapel and that garment. That's that
1,000%. That's right, 1,000%.
See?
And that is what the message is making reference to, that quintessential self.
Come on, brother.
That quintessential being. Remember, we are taught in lesson 1, in the student enrollment. The messenger told us that you have 10 questions of the student enrollment because there are 10. We have 10 big questions up there in the universe. He goes to tell us that is our object of study, the universe. And he teaches us that your religion can't be a religion if it is not based upon universal law.
Brother, it's the truth.
These are the sciences that we are dealing with.
And in you saying that, brother, it brings to mind again the questions. What is the dimensions of a lodge?
That's heavy. Go ahead, brother. Good Lord, God, Bill.
Man,
right.
I mean, I know this. Hey, I'm just adding on, bro. I'm over here.
It's the truth. How can something be? How can you ignore something that is so thoroughly woven in the very thing that you stand on? It is absolutely crazy. It's so thoroughly woven in the very thing that you stand on. You cannot say, if you don't know it, then you don't understand certain parts of what you got.
And brother, you just brought it back full circle. There's a part of our people in the movement that are ignorant of these things. And that ignorance, because in other words, that ignorance, they're scared of their own ignorance. They're scared of their own ignorance. Instead of filling the gap and saying, I don't know, I want to learn, they want to demonize those they believe that know. This guy here, this European by the name of James Wasson, he wrote this book.
Oh, I got that.
Yeah, powerful book. So,
yes, sir.
One of the things that Brother Khalil had said earlier, I'll just read. He says this. He's talking about the Ismailis. So the Ismailis are a branch of Shiaism. Shiites, right? That's where the order of Hashashin comes from, the Ismailis. Anyway, he said this order was reflected in European culture by the Knights Templar. Absolutely. The Templars were similarly hierarchically structured. As this look at the assassins should have made clear, there was a great deal of documented historical contact in the Holy Land between the Templars and the assassins.
1000%.
So if Prophet Ali brought us back our forefathers' way of thinking along with history and identity, see that? If Elijah Muhammad brought to our people the knowledge of themselves, knowledge of their forefathers, our forefathers, and we know for a fact that the institution of Freemasonry, and more importantly, its contents, are remnants of our forefathers' ancient culture and science, why wouldn't there be overlap?
Oh, 1000%. Because when you look at what the messenger taught, did not the messenger teach people? He introduced them into scrying.
Yes. Come on, brother.
Not only did the messenger say it, his brother said it. Not only did his brother say it, Sister Bernstein Sharif said it.
Sister Bernstein Sharif
she went with Wallace about how the Savior was able to bring images up in a clear glass of water.
That's right.
We call this scrying.
You brother
inside of the system.
Explain to the listeners and the viewers what scrying is, because they don't know.
Scrying is the ability to use something as a medium in order to bring forth images.
Correct.
So can we even call that animating inanimate objects?
Well, I can't necessarily say that, because what occurs in scrying is animate.
Right.
There's nothing inanimate about it. Black mirrors are used.
Correct.
John Dee used the black mirror.
That's right.
But Kelly was able to see.
Right.
Right.
People use black mirrors. They'll use a bowl of water.
Absolutely.
Or
the brothers. That's right. Brothers from Santeria and all of that, they use it. So that's an initiation in understanding that. What did the messenger say? He said, go into a room, close the door. He said, visualize the brother or sister that you want to see.
Correct.
And you will make communication with them.
Correct.
When he spoke of the 12 major scientists, which we would call the 12 Alawiya, which are the same people that Ibn Arabi spoke of constantly. This is not something that's hidden.
Right.
This is some deep stuff that's being taught to us in this time period and given to us.
That's fact.
And what he said to us, he said, if you want to hear the mother, he said, meditate upon the mother plane and you can hear our engines. How
Right.
deep do that really go? And what references is he making? What is he trying to direct you to? So
You know
now he done taught him. Yes, sir.
I'm sorry, brother. I'm apologize. I didn't mean to cut your wisdom. Real
No,
quick.
go ahead,
You
God.
know what the modern technical term for scrying is today? Remote viewing.
Remote viewing. It is the same thing, and the military has been using it for years. So
That's
you have this man with a 3rd grade education,
right,
talking about scrying, talking the same exact dimensions that is used in the so-called mystery and occult worlds.
yes,
Is the messenger is literally using the same terminology of holding the image of a brother or thing in your mind in order to gain communication with it.
What you call it, the leader of the Moorish Science Civil American Incorporated, but Anael-Bey, as it relates to Prophet Drew Ali's teachings, constantly says those words. Train yourself to hold the thought.
To hold the thought. And what did the messenger say? When he spoke about the sciences and their ability to be able to see, he said, you can do it too. He said, but you're a little rusty in that spiritual part of your brain.
Right. Okay, let me go back.
Oh,
Early
man.
on, the brother Khalil was talking about some of his experiences with some of these orders, like the AA in particular. One of the cool things that I love about the AA, because I'm familiar with it with the Sufi order, I'm also familiar with this methodology in the OTOA. It's all results-based. You don't get the results, you don't move up.
Yeah.
In other words, it is absolutely imperative that you develop these skills and abilities to a degree. That's the only way you move up. Which means what? These abilities are latent within man and can be developed. And if they can be, then they must be. And even more so, if Prophet Drew Ali taught us that man is fully ordained to be the Lord of the plane of soul and the plane of things made manifest, if Elijah Muhammad says the original man is the Asiatic black man, the maker, the owner, the cream of the planet, Earth, following civilization, the God of the universe, then we got a heavy responsibility. We need to, if we're the landlords, we need to know the property that we're in charge of, right?
Absolutely.
Ain't that general order number one?
Absolutely. Charge post all 10 property review.
Come on, you already know how that goes. You see what I'm saying? That's what we're supposed to do as men. As
this is the
men,
science.
As Asiatic men, we're supposed to know these things. It's not just, oh, okay, I'm that, and then I get to sit back in the couch. No, I got to get to work. I have to exercise these 5 senses so I can expand them beyond my physical form. See that? I have to expand my vision beyond ultraviolet and infrared. What do you think that these practices enable us to do?
And just to touch on Muslim lesson number 1, number 2, number 16 in the Poor Righteous Teacher, let me read something to you from the Sufi doc. Spiritual poverty is a cornerstone of classical Sufi practice. The term fakir, poor man or woman, is often used as a synonym for Sufi and Darvish among the Sufis. Poverty, fakir, signifies destitution. What was what was the end of the apprentice called? The degree of destitution. Right?
Degree of destitution.
Impoverishment and neediness as contrasted to wealth, Ghana, which connotes independence and self-sufficiency. Right. So what he's making reference to is that the poverty that we are suffering is the spiritual poverty.
Yes.
Because we are nothing without Allah. Remember, we are taught that there is no unrighteousness in him. We taught this in our lessons, which is telling us to purify yourself as God. We caught up. We caught up to not understanding. And I'm gonna say this because I heard that brother make fun of the terminology poor righteous teacher. But what I will say is because of a lack of study and understanding what you're looking at, that you're making fun of a very thing for which is concerned universally amongst all mystics of the Islamic level. It's even in the Quran. It's in the Quran itself. And then I'll read it to you. It's in the Quran. So, you know, and I'm going to read it to you exactly what the Quran say. Because this is, and I will show you this. If you were to read the book of Thomas, it says this: if those who lead you say to you, look, the kingdom is in the sky, then the birds of the sky will precede you. If they say to you, it is in the sea, then the fishes will precede you. Rather, the kingdom is inside of you and outside of you. When you come to know yourselves, then you will be known, and you will realize that you are the children of the living Father. Then he say, but if you do not come to know yourselves, then you exist in poverty. And you are poverty. Then look at the Holy Quran. O mankind, you are poor in relation to Allah. And Allah is the rich, the glorious.
That's
so fact. When they made fun of the terminology poor righteous teacher, what it shows their unindebtedness to study. And the limitation is secular mentality that brings on when you approach a subject in order to attack it instead of to study it and to understand it. The universal prose or process of the study and development. And that's the difference of a student and everyone else.
That's real, brother. That's real.
That is the difference.
Yes, sir. That is the difference. Again, we have no, as you know, the Moorish movement, the Nation of Islam, right? The majority of us have no real idea how deep what we were brought by Prophet Drew Ali, by the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. We have no idea how deep this really, really, really is. We really don't. And these other orders, we're not involved. I wasn't involved in them because I thought it was greater or better than what the Prophet brought. No, what it did, my experience with these other orders allows me to more greatly appreciate what they brought. More greatly appreciate it. See?
That's heavy.
Yeah, that's it. I can. Here we go. And I've mentioned this before. I've mentioned it before. I'll mention it again. Hiram in the Masonic legend of the third degree is the fallen Asiatic sons and daughters in North America.
1000%.
Now, the way that Prophet Drew Ali put it in our literature, he made it so plain that any half-baked Freemason can see it. Right? Here we go. Any Freemason knows that all Masons are called sons of a widow. Well, Freemasonic researchers also know that Hiram in the Bible in 2 Kings went home, he wasn't murdered. Only in the Masonic legend was he murdered.
Right? 1000%.
Now, he is referred to as the son of a widow, but Masonic researchers agree that the craft of Freemasonry borrowed the term son of a widow from Ruth the Moabitess.
Absolutely.
See? Why Ruth? Ruth marries Boaz. Boaz dies shortly after the consummation of the marriage. All of her children are now what? Sons of a widow. That now we know in the Hiramic legend, they buried his body in the northwest corner of the temple under a trash heap. Why trash heap? Because who's going to look under the trash? Get it? Now, that was the northwest corner of the temple. In our questionnaire, you already know, Brother Sheik 7, in our questionnaire, what was the nationality of Ruth? Answer: Ruth was Moabite. What is the modern name of Moabites? Answer: Moroccans. Where is the Moroccan Empire? Answer: northwest of Mexico. Come on, bro. Come on. Just like Brother Khalil mentioned earlier, Jesus of 2,000 years ago, and the story of him being born in a manger and the 3 wise men, bro, that's all a sign for the fallen Asiatic sons and daughters of North America.
1,000%.
The 3 wise men were skilled in certain skills, and they were looking for something they had never seen before. How about that?
That's 1,000%.
What are they looking for? They were looking for the walking, talking fulfillment of the prophecies. The fact that we 3 are on this call right now, talking about what we're talking about, is proof positive that the baby has been born. See what I'm saying? The new child, the new man that Hitler said he was afraid of, is on the planet right now. And the wise men have been trained to be able to recognize the sign, pass, token of the past, and the perfect points of entrance.
1,000%.
That is the whole purpose of us knowing what we know and being taught what we're being taught, so that we can be recognized.
And our people, and not to get off subject, but stay on subject, in relation to Master Farah Muhammad, are the people aware that under Islamic teachings, that the Mahdi, his Alawiyah, are non-Arab. They're not Arab. And that the teachings of the Mahdi is not in accordance with those of the rest of the Islamic world.
That's a fact.
So they literally challenge it. This is documented. Hold on, man.
That's a fact.
Let me grab this.
That's a fact. That is a fact. What did Prophet Drawley tell us? With what he gave us, we have to straighten out our brothers in the East.
Yes.
But guess what that means? That means we got to know it first. We got to really know it.
I'm reading from a book.
Yes, sir.
It's called What is Sufism?
By
Martin Lings, Abu Bakr Sirajuddin.
Yes, sir.
You see, this book is kind of tore up. I have done a lot of things with this.
Yes, sir.
You see, my original student enrollment, I done put all type of stuff on there. You see the planets and alchemical symbols and all that.
Right.
I came in when I was 12. That's 1986. They wasn't forcing you to get to write a letter or nothing at that time. But by the mid 90s, they was like, yo, you gotta write them letters.
Yes, sir.
So we got them letters, and that's what we wound up getting out of it.
Nice.
But what you wind up finding within the histories, you start to find in the history that the original ones that was of the Mahdi, they had issue with the rest of the Islamic world because the scholars of the Islamic world felt like they wasn't following the doctrine. But these people was non-Arab. So we have to start looking at things from a different perspective. We are not supposed to fit in. We come to lead. You understand what I'm saying? We're not there to fit in. We're here to lead. So that's where it comes in at. Because trust me, the Prophet didn't want none of the Moors to turn Salafi Muslims. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad didn't want the people to turn Salafi Muslims.
Come on.
You dig what I'm saying? He didn't want that to happen. That's not what we're here for. We're here to lead.
Yes, sir.
Because this is a new Islam.
Right.
But the key to this is in unity.
Yes, sir.
Because we have a lot more in common. And we can get a lot further in the research of history if we unify.
Yes, sir.
Goddamn, we met in the same building.
Same building, Mo.
We just gotta be real about it. We met in the same building.
Ain't that something?
So we have to really pay attention to this.
Ain't that something?
And if they look at it from a spiritual sight,
yes,
they can be able to see it.
Yes.
Prophet Noble Drew Ali dies or is killed. Master Farah Muhammad comes in the vacuum. He raises a messenger. He rose. The completion of the work. Right. It continues.
Yo, I like how you put that. And that's, I was having this conversation earlier. I really was. When you look at it, because a lot of us, even in the Moorish Science Symbol of America, will look at the Nation of Islam and we feel like the Nation of Islam owes us something. So you know what I'm saying? But that's because we're looking with the wrong eye.
You're looking at the wrong eye.
Yeah. So like what you said, right? When you're looking at it spiritually, unity and uniformity are not synonymous.
Not at all. We could be brothers. It's not a problem. We are brothers. And if we sit down, we could put a history together. And even if it's not even a concern of the history, we could sit down with doctrines and formulate something and meet this thing out.
That's fact, brother. Because
again, the noble prophet, he did not live long enough to complete and meet out everything. The messenger lived 40 years of working.
Yeah.
To make corrections, meet it out all the way.
Right.
So you have to look at things from a different perspective.
Right.
Instead of, oh, this person came from me. He didn't. You could think it, but it's okay.
Right.
But the ultimate thing behind it is, where do we unify it?
Brother, see, I'm glad you said that. So, and this goes back to us, how astute are we in our studies?
Absolutely.
Here we go. Right? Lost Sound Lesson 1, question number 1. Who made Holy Quran and Bible? How long ago? And will you tell us why does Islam renew history every 25,000 years?
Absolutely.
Chapter 2, Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Symbol of America. We measure time by cycle ages and negate to every age redeem a milestone in the journey of the race. This is what I mean by that. The brother Khalil just mentioned, if we're thinking, well, who came first? Who came first? That means we're thinking linearly.
Absolutely.
And see, enlightened, the illumined measure time by cycle ages.
Absolutely. And reality,
and
that's
profane
right.
Measure it linearly. So if we're caught up in, well, who came first, the nation or then that's the wrong thought, people.
And what they did not paying attention to, the foundation that he left and mentioned in there was meted out. Because this is taking you into the Asiatic calendar, which is taking you into the original calendar in the processional ages. This is what it's giving you.
Yes, sir.
That's what the 25,000 year cycle is based upon.
Yes, sir.
Right? We're talking about the processional cycle.
Right.
Right? So this is what we're dealing with. We're dealing with astronomy.
Yes, sir.
Let me tell you something. I got a book. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us in the year 1, 13,086 BC is the year 1 of our present Quran. When you look in astronomy,
yes,
the word year 1 is used in astronomy at the beginning of a processional cycle.
That's a fact.
This cycle began in the constellation of Virgo, and guess in what year? 13,086 BC. That's the exact number. So we are dealing with calculations.
Yes, we are. Yes, we are. Yes, we are.
You gotta be able to look at it all in order to see the whole book.
That's right.
You can't look at a surah
but that's
or an ayah.
That's deep. And again, I want to point out something out here that the brother just brought up, right? To us, religion is not some side thing or some hobby. See, the European psychology secularized even religion.
Absolutely.
See, we see religion in the true sense. True religion is a means to explain the known and unknown universe. So for us, there is no real separation between true religion and science. You see what I'm saying?
Talk.
So in other words, if it's true socially, scientifically, economically. So with what we're talking about here, with what we call our religious doctrine, we can't just say, okay, this is just religious doctrine, it just belongs here. When we're talking about science, we can't talk about that. Oh, yes, we can. Because our particular religious practice is scientific. That's why. And it goes beyond just this little compartment of religious belief or blind faith. Nah.
Well, what did the messenger say? The messenger taught us what? He said, I'm only trying to teach you the science in a theological way.
That's right. Woo. There you go.
Are you aware that the followers of the Mahdi, these men are called Wazuru, which is translated as ministers. Not imams.
Not imams.
But ministers.
That's deep.
Why did Master Muhammad call them ministers and not imams? Isn't that something interesting? And I mean, this is totally through Ibn Arabi's works. He actually make a reference to that.
You know what you just brought to mind, brother? The European Lawrence Gardner. Lawrence Gardner, he was the historiographer royale for the Dragon Court of the Knights Templar Order. Not Knights Templar degree, Knights Templar Order. Now, in one of his books, he's talking about the Egyptian style temple that they found on Mount Horeb, dedicated to the goddess Hathor.
Absolutely,
right. And in that temple, the European Sir Flinders Petrie found huge vats and tubs of a very fine white powder. They later realized, much later, that white powder was being manufactured there. And it was being manufactured by the priesthood. And that white powder was actually what they call monoatomic or orbitally rearranged monoatomic elements. It was white powder gold, the philosopher's stone.
Wow.
But here's what's deep about it: on the hieroglyphs in that temple. In that Mount Horeb, by the way, is the mountain that Moses met the Lord of the Burning Bush, which was his father-in-law, Jethro, the sheik from the Midian sheik from the plains of Moab. But anyway, on the hieroglyphs in this temple, it talked about how the priests were worshiping there. But the word translated to worship is also used to mean experiment and study. So the ministers and the priests were also what? Scientists. And the worship was actually scientific work.
Let me show you something that's deep, right?
Yes, sir.
We taught by Master Farad Muhammad. The messenger teaches that Master Farad Muhammad could speak the language of the birds. He said that he learned this when he traveled into the jungles of Africa.
Yes, sir.
Those of us who study, we know that there are African tribes. They now have it on YouTube that literally communicate with the birds, right?
Yes, sir.
So he picked Africa, and it's the African tribes that actually communicate in order to find honey and everything else, right? But let me read this to you. He will have divine men upholding his call to the true religion and aiding him in his victory. They are the helpers, the Wazura. They will bear the burdens of his government and help him to carry out all the details of the duty God has imposed on him. God would appoint as his ministers a group of spiritual men whom he has kept hidden for him in the secret recesses of his unseen, the spiritual world. God has acquainted an immediate witnessing with the divine realities and the contents of God's command concerning his servants. Yes. So the Mahdi makes his decisions and judgments on the basis of consultation with them, since they are the true knowers who really know what is there in the divine reality. As for the Mahdi himself, he has a sword in the service of the truth and a divinely inspired political policy, since he knows from God the exact extent of what is required by his rank and station, for he is a rightly guided vicegerent of God, who understands the language of animals, whose justice extends to both men and jinn. You can't make this stuff up. You can't make it up. You see what I mean? I mean, you can't make it up. So it depends on what people want to go to study. But needless to say, people need to become unspooktified about Freemasonry. And I'm not saying you have to enter Freemasonry.
Right.
Because you got everything if you know what you got.
If you know what you got.
If you know what you got. But what I will say is this. You'll make a communication and go to Europe. And maybe you'll find some Moorish brothers to reach out to talk to. I will go to my Grand Lodge to my secretary.
Right.
My secretary will reach out to the Grand Lodge in Europe.
Right.
My secretary will reach out to the Grand Lodge in Barbados. My secretary will reach out to the Grand Lodge in Cuba, in Ghana, in Kenya, to let them know I am arriving. They will meet me there, and my wages will be paid.
Be paid.
Everything has purpose.
That's right.
Everything.
That's right.
Everything got purpose.
That's right, brother.
If the wise man can't understand the purpose, that's up to him.
Yo,
I understand the purpose of it, though.
To your point, bro, the Prophet Noble Drew, to add to that point, Prophet Noble Drew Ali said that he continues to labor daily for us, for our betterment, in public and in private.
Absolutely.
In Unity Hall, it's mentioned in the Moorish Guide newspaper that the move of the Prophet's office to Unity Hall was advantageous because all of the civic, political, and fraternal and secret orders had offices there.
1000%. If you look at the Circle 7,
yes, sir.
We were speaking off a camera, and you was to connect the top of the compass, and you was to make it perfectly around. Your bases will be the points of the compass that's on the ground in the top of it. That's and you will have the rule. That square will give you a perfect circle.
Yes,
within that perfect circle would then be what? The G.
That's a fact.
Which is the basis of what? The number of the G is a 7.
There you go. And
so God, you have the circle 7.
And God forever geometrizes.
It's always there.
That's
it
right.
cannot be ignored.
Right.
But what I'm going to do is that no door will be closed to me.
Woo.
I'm going to walk through every door.
See that? Doesn't that sound familiar? Listen, see, that's another thing people, especially in the Moorish science of America, think we're doing when we're talking about Freemasonry or saying that we're a member of the order or we're a member of the order, whatever, right? They're thinking, yo, these guys, you're trying to put, you're diminishing Prophet Drew Ali's prophethood. How? When we have the perfect example of Jesus, after studying where he studied and doing what he did, went to Heliopolis and started mission there. And then they examined him and he spoke with clearness and with power. And then the Hierophant says, your wisdom is the wisdom of the gods. Why seek ye wisdom in the halls of men? And his answer, as you all know, was very close to what our brother Khalil just said. I'm opening every door.
You got to.
I'm opening
Especially in this day and time, how you not?
How about that? I'm opening
in this day and time, you need every tool that you can get to work with.
Right.
You don't need a door closed to you.
See?
Right? I mean, in this day and time, let's be real.
There you go.
So we're dealing with real study, real knowledge.
Real knowledge.
I am not telling people that they need to go into the Masonic order.
Right.
All I'm saying is stop moving as if you don't have knowledge.
There you go.
We are God.
Right.
We can study anything. We can go in anything.
Right.
If you can't step in something and remain untouched or tarnished, then you need to strengthen your armor of God.
How about that? But now, brother, let me add this though too. See, here's another thing as well, right? And you'll know exactly, where I'm going when I start to speak on it. We all see, like in the Nation of Islam, I'll use this example. The FOI, Fruit of Islam. What do they call close quarter drill? They call it the exercise of the gods.
Absolutely.
Why is it the exercise of the gods? Because Allah is in me, just like Allah is in Sheik 7, just like Allah is in Khalil. So if all three of us are moving of one accord on one instruction at the same time, with the same rhythm, with the same movement, that means the presence of God is in, that's the presence of God on earth.
Absolutely.
Literally. You see what I'm saying? So that's another challenge. Sure, I can open doors. I can open whatever door I want to open. Sure, I can. But can I work with my brother at the same time, or am I gonna, or am I gonna be alone? Am I gonna be a lone actor, or can I actually unify with my brother? Am I a team player?
But the higher science to that is that no man lives unto himself, and all living things are bound by cords to all other living things.
How about
1,000%?
That's right.
And that is actually taught in the Quran.
Yes,
and the Holy Quran of Mecca.
Mm-hmm.
And we
Holy Quran of Mecca speaks about the ranks as well.
Absolutely.
Sheik, if we look at the teachings, it even says that we assist the bead in vibrating.
Come on, bro. Woof, woof, woof. Right?
We assist singing.
Where the bird is singing, and then men vibrate in unison to help it sing because we admire the melody. Come on, bro. Every living thing is bound by cords to every other living thing, right?
1,000%.
And so now, but that's part of our work. Our people fell not because we lost knowledge of ourselves. We fell because we stopped treating each other like brothers and sisters.
Absolutely.
We stopped practicing how to work together. We started separating and categorizing, and that is following after the strange gods of Europe of whom we knew nothing.
And if we get real about it, right, the separation thing is so silly, and I always talk about this with Sheik 7, right?
Yes, sir.
When did the Holy Prophet Nubuddha Ali pass away?
July 20th, 1929.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad passed away when?
75. 75.
What have we accomplished?
Wow.
We in 2024, what do we own? The messenger came. He gave us one of the greatest demonstrations that we have ever had living.
Come on, brother. Come on.
That we have ever had living.
Yes, sir.
Banks, supermarkets, restaurants, clothing stores, schools, universities, cleaners, import, export of fishing, Pan-Africanism, everything under him. We are in 2024. What do we got?
And to that point, brother, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad said, and correct me if I'm wrong, I might not be that accurate on this, but he said he is the end of messengers. After him comes Allah himself, right?
Yes, sir. And he
Prophet
said executioners.
Prophet Drew Ali said he was the last prophet in these days. He said that he brought us. He said, I brought you everything it takes to save a nation. Now take these and save yourselves.
And what did the Savior tell us? Learn your mathematical theology.
That's right.
Sit yourself in heaven at once.
Yourself in heaven at once. In other words, you know what I think, brother? I think we're waiting on another savior.
They all are.
That means we're poor students of our teachers.
They all are.
Yes.
Because let me make something clear.
Yes.
If the Holy Prophet passed away in 1929, y'all have the same issue that occurs in the many bodies of the Nation of Islam.
Absolutely.
The Moors are arguing over the pettiest things.
Absolutely.
Who's this? Who took over after this? What took over after that? Who is this? What was this? The Nation of Islam, that ain't really the messenger. This is a hypocrite. This ain't what you're gonna do. But now let's look at the game, though.
Right.
With all the separation of the Moors, how many banks have the Moors ever built?
Woo.
I'm about to show something. How many? None.
Right.
Okay. How many communities did they build for their people?
Now, I could say.
And what I mean by that is, and let's say you take an energy, and what I mean by that is,
yes,
the bickering separates your finances and separates your thinking.
Absolutely.
If you can unify it, you can build. The Nation of Islams, we have like 1 million Nation of Islams.
Right.
I'm just being honest with you.
Right.
They all arguing with each other.
Right.
But at the end of the day, imagine if they unified what you can have. Now imagine if you and I can recognize the truth of each other.
Yes, sir.
You, me, and we can sit down with each other. What can we create?
Woo.
What can we create?
In the creation of those things, those positive things that we can create and should and are tasked with and are responsible to do, when they're done, how petty will these arguments be seen to be?
Will they be seen to be? Because it's petty.
Petty.
It's so much of the separation. We are near destruction.
Right.
We are near destruction.
Yes.
And we are still arguing to if the messenger came from the Moorish Science Temple. We are still arguing.
Ain't that something?
Who was the successor of the Prophet Nabi Ali? Who was the successor of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad? But in the meantime, while they thinking like that, right, the Obamas can make a movie called Leave the World Behind. Obama can go, their first movie, he can go back to the director, tell the director, you done missed some points.
Yes.
And once that movie done, you got 15 to 20 billionaires building underground bunkers.
Ain't that something?
You got Biden talking about he is going to put military force to help NATO against Russia.
Ain't that something?
And we are talking about who came from who and who should be the next successor. That's how you know that there's an issue. There's something is wrong. That's how you know there's something wrong with us.
Yes.
Because then you got the head of a general of the United States of America, head of NATO, is having a discussion which is telling you to the world, you shouldn't be so comfortable.
Brother.
You should have some enough food to last you 6 months. You should have enough water. Don't be comfortable.
The next time, yo, Mo, you know what you need right now, right? You need a Funk Flex bomb sound. For real.
Yeah.
What the brother just said was worth the price of admission. It really, what he just said, yo, is worth, I'm telling you, bro.
Because it's the truth. If it go down today, what's going to happen? How organized are you and us in order to secure ourselves? Because the white militias are secure.
Right.
It was white militias that went down there in Texas.
Yep.
You understand what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
You got to really look at this. They went in Texas.
They went into Texas
to support that National Guard against the president.
Against the president. Think about that.
You have to think about this.
Yes.
So we're thinking on a very low level. Like all of this knowledge and all that is beautiful.
Right.
It's beautiful.
Right.
But the question is today, if you are starving today, how do you eat? How do I get to you to feed you?
Come on, brother.
If it shuts down today, what becomes of us? Right now, the dollar is number 10.
Mm-hmm.
First time in history.
Uh-huh.
The Kuwaiti money is number 1.
That's right.
If the dollar is removed as the base,
yes,
our dollar is worth 20 cents overnight.
Overnight.
This can happen.
Very easily.
It's showing you that it's happening. So the question is to us, while we sit, we break down knowledge and we arguing over nothing, these same exact people are not giving up any solutions to protect us. As we exist right now, they don't put Fed now, right?
That's right.
With Fed now, you go buy something on Amazon, it goes through their processors.
Yes.
It's going through their stuff.
That's right.
They got hand payments inside of Whole Food Market.
That's a fact.
In China, they showed you that you have to show your face.
Yes, sir.
In order to be able to buy some food. They got a coin called the World Coin that in order for you to get the World Coin, you have to come up there and get your iris and face scanned.
That's a fact.
Well, people went there in droves.
Yes.
These white boys is telling you and I that by 2030, you will own nothing and be happy. So you got people like the bankers, BlackRock, that put 100, 300 million into buying properties throughout the United States of America to create rentals. Because if you don't own, I control you with shelter.
That's a fact.
If you don't own, I control you with food.
Yep.
So the real ultimate question is, if we really got supreme wisdom, if we really followed the prophet Noble Drew, then how the hell we ain't got nothing?
Come on, brother.
It means that we are hypocrites. You could put up all the sevens that you want to. You can stand at attention all you want to.
Right.
But what do it matter if you're hungry?
Come on, brother.
Did you not see COVID? Did not people get shot coming out of Walmart for TVs and food?
That's fact.
What you think that was? That was the test run.
I was about to say that was the dress rehearsal, bro.
They getting ready for it. So the question is to you, if you can read the signs of Allah,
come on, bro.
You are given the warning. You getting to be seen what is coming.
Come on.
So the question comes to you.
And like what you said, bro, we students of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad, students of Prophet Noble Drew Ali, we got no excuse.
There's no excuse. We know better.
No excuse. The Prophet Drew Ali said, one day you're gonna go to the supermarket and there's gonna be military troops surrounding it with bayonets on their weapons.
1,000%.
And they're gonna tell you to go home. He said one day the European is gonna let you down. You're gonna need a 90-day supply of food until your brothers from the east come to rescue you.
What did the minister say that he saw the messenger doing, crying? And he asked him, why are you crying? He said, because I don't want my people to starve. Woo! So you dealing in the reality. He said, you're going to take that cash and you're going to put it in the middle of the street and you're going to burn it.
You're going to burn it.
If a person read Fall of America, then you should have known that this reality was coming.
Yes, sir.
Because he told you.
Didn't the Prophet Noble Drew Ali say that one day you'll see a $20 bill on the ground? It won't
even stoop to pick it up.
It won't mean nothing. And we're entering into that stage now.
Yes, sir.
But we're not paying attention to this. What do you think bricks was made for?
Bricks was made specifically for de-dollarization, bro.
1,000%.
You already know.
Has not Saudi Arabia opened up its doorway to accept currencies other than the dollar?
Sure has.
So what do that tells us? It begins the ending of the petrodollar.
It is the systematic dismantling of the European state status quo, bro.
We are right here.
Yes, we are.
We are right here.
That's right.
So the question is it more important for you to keep arguing from both sectors, Nation of Islam and under the brothers of the MSTA?
Yep.
Who's what and what's not?
Correct.
So who's the Messiah? Who's the prophet?
Right.
Tell me, what do that give you?
Right.
All right, you identified it. You identified.
Wow. Wow.
Okay. That's good for you. Let me tell you something. One day I was going to flip a house.
Yes, sir.
It was over there in the West Oak Lane, Philadelphia.
Yes, sir.
I go inside the house, find out that a Moorish brother then took over the house.
Oh, no.
And he got his woman, got a child, and she is pregnant.
Oh, no.
Now, the folks who brought the house, I'm about to flip it. We walk inside the house. The house was abandoned. It was sold at sheriff's sale. I'm just going to tell you how this thing is really going. I walk inside the thing. And I talk to the brother.
Yes.
And I say, listen, brother, they going to give you $3,000 to move you and your wife with your children.
Yep.
And you use that money to get you somewhere to live.
There you go.
It's going to bring a point. The brother said to me, no, I'm suing the government for $12 trillion. And he talked about the brother Taj that was teaching it.
Oh,
I'm being real.
Oh, no.
$12 trillion. I saw the brother again because it's a Moorish brother from Africa that owns a notary down there on Spring Garden. I walked in there to get something notarized. I walked back out. I see the brother. I said, take the $3,000, brother. So that you can find somewhere to live. This brother argued me down because of what these people are teaching. This brother wound up being evicted and put on the streets.
Yep.
With his pregnant wife, their child, and him. The point is that I'm making reference to this.
Yes, sir.
Where was the community to give him somewhere to live?
Wow. Ooh, come on, brother.
Now let me show you. We are arguing over who's who.
Yes.
But the common reality of setting up and building for yourself.
Yes.
In order to take care of self and kind.
Yes.
Is being ignored. What did the messenger tell us? Pool your resource for education and qualifications for independence.
That's right, brother.
With all of this intelligence, to be able to break down the universe, break down Freemasonry, break down the deepest realities of Kabbalah, and you mean to tell me we cannot bring together to get our own farm?
Ain't that something, brother?
We can't pour together to get our own housing to put our sisters and our brothers in?
Come on.
That we are arguing over things that does not matter. Because when you hit the penitentiary, they don't care if you more, FOI, or nation gods and earths, you're a nigga.
Right.
And they treat you like that.
Right.
You step inside of them damn courtrooms, you can argue all you want. That white man decides if he recognizes your paperwork.
That's a fact.
And he sentences you.
That's right.
That's because we do not separate to create for ourselves.
There you go. There you go.
We don't separate to create for ourselves. To be honest, all that other shit don't mean nothing.
Right.
It don't mean nothing.
Right.
You don't make a roll of toilet paper. I don't make a roll of toilet paper to wipe my behind.
Right.
We are still going to the enemy. Talking about your sovereign. You can't be sovereign in a world that you ain't got a military and an economic and financial backbone.
Bottom line.
What your sovereign? Where's your military? The only thing that stops the military from going into them white boys' places because they don't want a political bloodbath.
That's a fact.
Because they threaten to kill.
Right.
And they don't want that publicized. Right. Do you and I have a military where our compound is sanctuary?
Right.
To protect our sovereignty. Where's our banks?
Right.
Where's our economic development? Right. I'm sovereign. Make sure you give me my card so I can go down there to Truist bank account. If you don't do what I say, I shut your damn bank account down.
Right.
You can't go in the market.
Right.
What do you got?
Exactly.
We don't have nothing. That's the point. So if we're going to be real about it, and I don't want to get off topic, but if we're going to be real about it, this shit don't matter.
Right.
What are we going to do to survive?
There you go.
It's not the question on the board, which one will survive, Christianity or Islam?
Which will survive the War of Armageddon?
What does that mean? We think this is about a damn religion.
No.
This ain't about no religions.
No. That's right. It's not.
I'm sorry, but
no, bro. That needed to be said. We are in our teaching, and the Prophet Jali said this, talking about the fool as opposed to the wise man. And it speaks perfectly to what you said. He boasts of attainments that are of no worth. But where it is a shame to be ignorant, there he has no understanding. You see what I'm saying? So we're talking about all this high, lofty wisdom and can't balance a checkbook. See?
We control nothing.
See?
I'm telling you, we sit around, we say that, we be like, man, I'm sovereign.
Right.
Get the nationality papers. Okay. Tell me something. If the white man don't recognize your papers, will he not take your car? What standing army do you have to stop him? If he don't recognize your papers when you enter court, what standing army do you have to make him bow to recognize the truth of what you give?
Here's a more simple. Here's a more simple one.
You know, it's reality of what we're dealing with.
Here's an even more simpler one. What in the world makes any of us think that words on a piece of paper filed somewhere have any power like that at all anyway?
Not amongst the enemy that you have to go to recognize it. It gives us a false sense of power.
Sure does, bro.
It's like when we say we God, right?
Right.
And we say, yeah, man, I'm the black man is God.
Right.
But then we turn around and we say, excuse me, Kenna, you forgot my check.
Ain't that something?
The point I'm making reference to is we have given up the power of soul controllership.
Ain't that something?
We have accepted a false security.
Yes.
Instead of seeing things as it really is.
Correct.
These people done passed the law in New York, your town, that they can come in your damn house at the time of pandemic and take your children.
Correct.
On the CDC, they got laws that sit in place where they can come, take your family from you and put them in homes and concentration camps.
Yep.
Where's your stand? Where is our standing army? You think you're going to pull out some papers and say the black man is God and cite a lesson? You think you're going to say I'm a Moorish national?
Hold on. You know what? I'm gonna take it somewhere else or similar to what you just said as it relates to the Moorish sign symbol of America. Right? Those laws were passed. That law was passed in New York. Right?
Absolutely.
Now we know laws are passed through the legislature, and the legislature is our delegates and representatives of the people. Yep. Right? Prophet Drew Ali gave the members of the Moorish Science Symbol of America an excellent example in 1928. Right? Yes. He organized over 3,000 members in the city of Chicago and developed a national vote block that he called the Free National Ballot. And it was because of that we got the first Asiatic elected into Congress since Reconstruction. In other words, he showed how to do it right. He said, okay, we vote, we G up and vote our issues over everything. That being said, since we got that clear example, those of us in New York State, there's so many thousands and thousands, I'm not even going to say thousands, millions of Asiatics in America that were adversely affected by the COVID pandemic. There should be no reason in the world, if we knew this and we were really followers and students of Prophet Drew Ali, that such a law should have ever got passed.
1,000%.
Should have never got passed. You know why it got passed? Because we don't participate. We're not following the Prophet.
We under siege.
Yes.
And I'm not even lying to you. We under siege, and if people who studied enough, you'll see just how closely you are to some serious, how we are serious problems, you know? Oh, where did the brothers go?
This is how we do.
Hey, brother God, it looked like brother Sharif disappeared.
Oh, what happened?
I don't know. He canceled out right there, God.
He got the he'll hop back in. Maybe something happened with his Wi-Fi connection, something similar to what happened with me.
Yes, sir.
Brother, this is an amazing bill. I appreciate you brothers for coming on and giving us such a explosive dialogue.
Brother God, you and I talk about unity all the time.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
It ain't got nothing. That's what it really boils down to. The need to unify.
The brother said his battery died.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
It is so important for us to unify, to build something of our own. Everything else doesn't matter. You know, the messenger said, do whatever it takes to unify. We have to unify. It's just very important that we do for the salvation of us as a people.
And this is why I wanted to, this is why, you know, I didn't have this conversation to defend or promote, you know, as one would think. I didn't do this to promote or defend the craft of masonry, but to assist in dispelling the hate and the misunderstanding of it, for the fact that, you know, we have brothers and sisters in that craft too, who could and should be very instrumental in our building and development of our communities. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And, you know, I just feel like to have such mind state, we're doing ourselves an injustice, because if I'm not mistaken, the Prophet Noble Jew Ali said in this movement we'll welcome him in, you know, people from all professional fields and all walks of life. You know what I'm saying? And we're supposed to be building enterprises, you know, and I think that we, you know, we may need to get back to that type of thinking, because we're paying too much attention to the results and the effects of things instead of the cause of things.
Absolutely.
In my honest opinion.
Yeah, I totally agree with that, God. I totally agree, man. But it's, you know, it's always a reflection of self, you know, and always constantly looking at yourself and what it is that these great men has asked for us to do, and the foundation that they laid for us. You know, it does a disservice when you don't do anything with it.
Yes, sir.
It's a disservice.
That's a fact.
Even they gave their lives.
That's a fact.
And I mean, in a very literal sense.
That's a fact.
They had more courage and more discipline than we do. They was very serious.
And that's the purpose of, you know, even the Prophet telling us to imitate him.
Yeah.
You know, man.
It's a deep thing, man. It's just very deep of what we're dealing with today. When I look at things, man, I just know anything could be anything at this point if we living in reality.
Yes, sir.
You know what I mean? And we taking things for granted and not understanding that. Don't take it for granted. This shit can get very, very drastic very fast.
Right.
And it could be at the drop of a dime. You know what I mean? So we as a people, we need to look at things for what it really is. And we need to pay attention to these things. And then, again, take the advice of the messenger to pool our resources for education and qualifications for independence. There's no way with all these educated Black folk that we don't have nothing. We should be able to bring it together and make it happen. That's the most important thing that I take from all of them. All of them. Prophet Noble Ali, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, the Savior, Honorable Marcus Mosaic Garvey, and all the greats that has come. I take from them to do for self. So we are good at citing, breaking down the knowledge and all of that, but that's easy because you ain't got to sacrifice nothing.
Right.
You ain't got to sacrifice anything, so that's easy.
Right.
The mind is infinite, right? The message said the mind is the brain, black man brain is infinite, able to achieve whatever it conceives.
Right.
We could go forever. It's myriads of worlds sitting in the brain. We could do it forever. But the question is, at the end of the day, can you provide food, clothing, and shelter for yourself and kind outside of the enemy?
Mm.
That's it.
Mm.
That's it. You can uplift fallen humanity. You uplift them with your brain. No problem. If they were starving and needed to eat for 3 months, how many of the brothers and sisters prepared to feed them for 3 months or have a treasury in order to make sure that they can eat for 3 to 6 months? What about a housing that they need? Any transitional housing for the people that needs to be set up for 3 to 6 months? This has to be done amongst us as brothers and sisters. I could care less about sitting up and debating if whether the messenger came from the MSTA or not. People, it's a million people arguing that 50,000 years. My question is, what are we going to do for ourselves? Because they left a demonstration for us. And if I look around, we damn sure ain't take hold of that demonstration and did something with it.
Yes, sir. That's a fact.
We haven't done anything with it. So that's all that matters to me. I'd rather look at what unifies us instead of what separates us.
Fact.
And that's more important to me.
Yes, sir.
And that's what's important, I think, should be important to everyone that is real about the salvation of fallen humanity and raising our people up into the station that they were and greater than what they are. But we have to do that for ourselves as well. We have to be the clean glass.
Yes, sir. Islam, well, brother, we done had a long bill.
Yes, sir.
You and the man, as you can see in the comment section, we have brothers. We had the people saying it was a great bill. They enjoyed it.
Oh, thank you. Islam
I
to God.
enjoyed it. I enjoyed
it. God. Peace to the living God.
I like to give honors, and I give my honors to yourself and brother Sharif Anael-Bey.
The Black God. Yes, sir.
All who are in the chat, all who supported, all who watched and tuned in. And I would like to send, and I would like to say this before I go, is that we're for peace and not destruction. But when the principles of love, truth, peace, and freedom are violated, justice must then take its course.
Mm.
On this podcast, Let's Think podcast, we strive to provide a platform and get that will give the ability to all of our brothers and sisters in the same struggle, all of us who are in the same program of uplifting fallen humanity, a voice and a platform to demonstrate and cast their signal into the matrix. Well, I'm not against anything but falsehood. Therefore, Let's Think podcast will be in support of all of our brothers and sisters, all of our brothers and sisters who come in the spirit of love, true peace, freedom, and justice, and have it on their heart to uplift fallen humanity. So I would like to say from Let's Think Podcast to yourself, Brother Sharif Anael-Bey, the chat, all who viewed and all who will view, peace, love, and until next time, we'll soon meet. Islam?
Islam, Allah.
Islam, Allah.
Yes, sir. Peace, God. Well, I don't know how to log out.